Are you ready for retirement? Well, the question is this. There are 6 retirement questions you have to ask first before verifying that you are actually ready for retirement. Today, we're starting the Smart Retirement Program, what we like to call How to Retire Smartly, from someone like myself who's been retired for over 10 years now. I retired at 55. I kind of been studying it since, being a geek, I've been studying it since I've been 27 years old. And I've put together a complete package that I've run through numerous different people who have all said, wow, it helped them through getting ready for retirement and into retirement. So we're going to start today with the Smart Retirement Program, part number 1, and that is 6 questions. Are you ready for retirement? And this is part number 1. The honest checklist to retire on time and not too early and not too late. Know more about your retirement readiness in about 20 minutes than most people will figure out in 10 years. Well, before we got to get into this, we do have to do a disclosure because we're technically rated as a financial channel, but the past performances do not guarantee future results, and the information provided in this video is for educational and informational purposes. It is not to be considered financial advice. So here's the framework that we use. What you're going to learn here is the 6 critical questions determining your readiness, the key metrics, hidden risks, and the discussion points, and specific fix to no answers. How to use it? Answer honestly. This is a serious part of your life, so we want to make sure you're honest with yourself and answer each one of these questions honestly, ignoring the answer you want to give. Okay? Mark yes or no. And uncertainty counts as a no. And then circle the no's. This becomes your specific action plan. This will all come together real easily as we move through this video. The first question is going to be about your income engine. Can your portfolio replace a paycheck without touching principal? Number 2 is going to be healthcare, the bridging of healthcare. Number 3, purpose and identity. Probably one of the hardest questions that people don't even know about retirement. And then a spousal alignment. Then number 5, the sequence risk. And number 6, the real budget, which is the one that most people can't stand. But we're going to talk about each one of these. Can your money replace your paycheck? That's one of the biggest questions that starts off with when you're looking at towards retirement. The income engine reality, the old 4% rule that, basically your entire nest egg, you can take and withdraw 4% safely, is a mathematical number, and it came with a financial rule that a lot of people follow. Well, the old 4% rule is no longer the safe standard. Building a plan on outdated math puts you behind before you even start. Your goal is for reliable monthly income that covers your life needs without forcing you to sell principal during market dips. So you want to map your dependable monthly income and everything together. That is your portfolio draw, your Social Security, your pension, your rentals, if you have rental properties, anything that generates income. Now you also want to stress test for inflation. Groceries are up 22% since 2021. So does the math still work? And then account for healthcare baseline. Healthcare is one of the biggest questions, and we're going to get to that shortly. But most forget that the $1,250 a month needed for non-catastrophic care has to be accounted for. So a lot of people have come down to now and are saying the safe withdrawal rate is 3.7% versus what they used to be at 4%. So the impact on $1 million portfolio is annual income of $37,000 or $3,083 a month. And, healthcare is a real reality. We're looking at about $1,250 a month for healthcare. So to pass this question, if your dependable monthly income covers your real budget, with a cushion without selling assets, then you're a definite yes. So you do have to put pencil to paper. Now, I've always suggested everybody to do this is can you replace your paycheck? What you want to do is list out all of your income. You want to be very specific at this point in time. This is a very important part. You want to sit down and look at what will you pull off of your portfolio draw. Now, I'm a true believer that you want to live off of income from your investments, which is mostly called dividends. So what are you looking at from that? Then you also want to take in consideration Social Security. Then you also want to take in if you have a pension, rentals. I put them all in here. I kind of just threw some numbers together of what a legitimate portfolio could be and how it could be to show you that someone could actually generate $8,000 a month. Now, what I come back next is the expenses. You want to sit down and list out what your current expenses are today. Your housing, your utilities. What are you paying for health care? Not what your company is paying. So you're going to have to do a little research, but what's your health care going to cost? And again, we're going to cover that in the next portion of this. You also want to take a look at what your food costs are. Do you have a car? Do you have a car payment? Any subscriptions? This is a big thing. This is why you see a lot of people on TV and advertising. How many subscriptions do you have? If you have Netflix, if you have Hulu, if you have a Disney, what are all the subscriptions that you're a part of? You want to put those in. Then I get into the next thing, what I call the fun stuff. What you're planning on doing in retirement. Are you looking to travel? Well, I'll call those vacations. Are you looking to play golf every day? Are you looking to do different things? You add that in to your fun stuff, vacations, how much a month you're going to plan for that. And then, of course, you always got your insurances that you got to deal with. So again, a rough estimate, just throwing some numbers out there, I came up with a total of $6,775. So this is where we're saying you have your income less your expenses. You actually have $1,200 extra per month. Then all of a sudden, guess what? You're a yes. You are you're making enough for cover your paycheck to cover all your expenses so you can live. Now, as we got, do you have a plan for health care until Medicare? Now, bridging the gap to 65, Medicare begins strictly at 65. If you retire early, the gap years can be the most expensive of your life. Private insurance for a couple can exceed $26,000 a year. The secret isn't just finding a plan, it's engineering your income to qualify for subsidies. This is a point where I really get to talking to people and they don't understand that point. What do you mean by engineering my income? And again, we have a plan for this. You want to check your specific state and exchanges. Costs are widely different between New York and New Jersey to Indiana and Tennessee. Engineering your MAGI, okay, that is your income. You want to target as a couple between $60,000 to $65,000 to unlock premium tax credits and use Roth or cash withdrawals to do that. You also want to identify your bridged vehicle, your ACA marketplace, which is your Affordable Care Act, COBRA, working spouses plan, or short-term coverage. Now, everyone always gets scared when they see that number at $26,000 for insurance, and you've had company insurance, right? For the majority of your life, most people have had company insurance. They pay so much a month for their insurance and never even thought about it. Now you got to front the whole bill on your own. So, like I said, standard premium in a high taxable income area, you're probably $2,200. Your optimized premium, if you can get your numbers down to living off of $60,000 to $65,000, I put in here $880 for a couple. But I'm going to share with you what I did personally. I'll teach you here in a minute. So this is where you start calculating in. Am I going to have a $2,200 healthcare deal, or can I live off of an $880 fund to work it accordingly? So if you can document month-to-month coverage plan and income strategy to marketize your strategies, then your health care for question number 2 is taken care of as a yes. I can do this. Now, what I was telling you is the ACA, which is the Affordable Care Act. Now, this came out past couple administrations. You've heard a lot of press about it. You've heard a lot of different things. But the magic is at $65,000, which is what I put in here as my income, is what it really turned out to be is that I qualified for a $2,340 a month uh, help in payments. And it was allowing me to show you two different funds that I was able to get a zero monthly premium with a $7,500 deductible. Now, if you followed this channel at all, you would know last year I went through two hip replacements in a very, very similar program like this. So I've learned a lot about healthcare, of how to work things through and how to get your income organized properly, how to find the best plans and the best packages. Now, there's plenty of companies out there. You can go directly to Affordable Care Act. There's a lot of different companies out there that offer all these type of plans to work with. But I'm showing you here is a big, one of these things of what do I do? How do I do it? You have to plan your income to qualify into one of these plans. So retirement isn't just, hey, I'm retiring tomorrow. You got to do a little planning, a little bit of work. But look at this. I'm able to save over $880 a month just by setting up my income and living expenses prior to retirement. Now, question number 3. Do you know what you're retiring to? This is a question that I talk to a lot of people. Normally, is one of the first questions I always bring up. But I actually rated it number 3 because everyone always was worried about their income. Do I have enough money? Do I have enough money? And then healthcare becomes part of that. Do I have enough money question? But this is actually the biggest point that I've ever seen. The first 6 months of retirement are like a vacation. And then quiet sets in. And if you identify that you tied to your title, or you may feel invisible, successful retirees don't leave a job. They enter a new phase and a new purpose portfolio. Okay? Retirement increases the potential of clinical depression by 40% in the first 7 years. Because the one question and the one comment that's always been made is you want to leave from something to something. I talk to a lot of different retired people are going to retire. And I always ask that. So what are you retiring from and what are you looking to do? And I hear all different kinds of comments and different things. Oh my God, I'm leaving a high stress job, or I'm leaving this job after 30 years. And great, I love it. You're leaving a job, you've done great, you deserve that. What are you retiring to? I want to spend a little more time with my grandkids, or I want to travel. I want to go on a cruise, or I said, you're right. You're going on vacation. What are you going to do long term down the road? And I started asking people, I said, what would you do with your time? And I always call this the weekday test. Take a blank sheet of paper and just basically describe what a regular Tuesday in February would be like. Okay? And it's funny how people have a hard time filling this out because they've never really done it. They've never thought it through. And it's like 8 a.m., coffee and a reading group. And 10 a.m., I'm going to volunteer at the food bank. And 1 o'clock, I'm going for lunch with the grandkids, get them out of school. 3 o'clock, I'm doing a work project. If you can't fill the sheet out completely, then you're not right to tell you, but you're not ready. You don't know what you're going to do. What are you going to do to basically take the time that you have? Now, I remember when I sat down to do retirement, I had a list of things I could fill a sheet numerous times over. And honestly, after that first year, my sheets got a lot smaller, but I still always had something to do because I left from something which was a corporate management type job. And I went into what I always called all my hobbies, my little hobbies that I'm doing different things. And we got into pickleball and we got into water volleyball and we got into traveling. And I started listing all these things out. I'm like, I don't have enough time in the day to do all the things I want to do. So hobbies aren't just relaxing. They're active and they're passive. A community unconnected to your former workplace. That's the biggest thing of all, is that you want to be disconnected from your workplace of that whole community of every morning, I got to get up, I got to go to work, I got to do this. And the whole next thing is this, what we call that second act project. What are you going to do? That's why I asked it. You're going to leave from something, which is your job, to something, which is what? What is it? And everything is correct, but you got to look, is it going to be a long-term situation? Have a clear posted work identity, structure, routines, and a community where you existed to wake up. You're not going to pass. You got to have a community where you leave that part, and when you wake up, you have something to get out of bed for. And it's funny. I've had a couple of different people say, "Well, I'm going to golf." And about 6 months into it, I said, "How's your golf going?" "Oh, I got so tired. It became a job." Well, that's not what you're looking for. What you want to do is be able to fill and have your time to do a lot of different things. So that means you have a lot of different things to do. Now, number 4 is really a related one. Is your spouse partner fully aligned? Okay. Two different directions that will cause a big problem. Marital satisfaction often dips in the first 18 months of retirement for couples who haven't explicitly discussed the roles and the expectations. When one spouse retires while the other one's working, you enter into two different financial realities. One is preserve mode, don't spend, save. The other one is accumulation mode, earn, earn, earn. Okay? This creates a very corruptive power imbalancement. One is spending its savings, okay? And another one wants, we got to keep earning, and working two different directions. You're going in two different directions. You can never get to the same spot. So one of the things that I always set up and suggest people do is agree to a monthly amount that requires no discussions, no justifications, and no permissions. So partner 1, partner 2, you're allowed anywhere between $200 to $500 a month to spend on whatever you want. If you want to go out to lunch every single day with your buddies and the other people that that are retired, great. Go do it. Don't even worry about it. But this is kind of where you got to talk with your spouse. You got to talk with your partner. What direction are you going? What are you going to do? Okay. So everyone knows the plan of attacks. And you don't get the people being jealous that, oh, you get to go do this and you get to go do that and I have to go to work. It's all working in the same plan. Okay. So what you really want to do is define the roles too, is who's paying your bills, the long-term care plans is agreed upon, everything that you part into your budgeting and so on, you have set up and you're ready to go. Now you also have to stress test for bad markets. Okay, retiring into a bear market is the biggest single threat to a portfolio longevity. If markets drop while you're withdrawing your income, you are focused on selling more shares at lower prices and permanently impairing your ability to recover. So when the market bounces back, building a cash bridge or a buffer, keeping 2 to 3 years of living expenses in a cash or short-term bonds is ideal. Running this 25% simulation, model your plan assuming a 25% drop in the first 2 years. So basically take what you have now, take 25% off and tell me, can you still build everything above? Can you still build that paycheck? That isolates your needs. That ensures you'll never have to sell equities to pay for groceries during a dip. It's a big thing to do. Now, a lot of people ask, now if you could, before you can do all that, you can pass this question. Yes, you've tested your market. Now, a lot of people ask me, well, where are you going to put that cash bridge? Where am I going to put 2 years? If I'm living off of, we'll just say $50,000 a year, 2 years, $100,000, where would I put that money? And I always chuckle and laugh. I said, well, you're not really putting it into anything that you have to lock up for long-term times. You want to put it in somewhere where you know it's extremely safe, easy accessible, and something that really we love to have a little bit of interest accordingly. So this is where I keep all my emergency funds or my 2 years of living. And what I actually find is, and again, this is not an endorsement, there's nothing about it, but Bankrate. Now, Bankrate, and I just show you here, I just took a screenshot of this on March 19th, so just a day or two ago. Um, and you can put in your zip code and it'll tell you what banks are all available. Well, you can see these are actually just regular savings account, which are all protected by the FDIC up to $250,000. And I'm getting 3.2, 3.75, or 4.0 in interest. So I'm taking my money and putting it in to a savings account, but I'm collecting high interest rates. Now, I hate to say my Bank of America that at the time was paying, I think, 0.1%, and now I'm getting 3 to 4% in the money. So I put a link down in the description below, or you can scan the QR code here to be able to pull the Bankrate right up for you and basically take a look at what they offer for you. A lot of people don't even know American Express has a savings account. Capital One's well known out there. But the thing that gets me is they find banks that you don't even know about, like VIO, Poppy Bank, all very safe, all very dialed into, nothing crazy, but it's an easy way to do it. So if you use the link, it does help the channel a little bit. Not that, I mean, it's pennies. So it's not an endorsement. I'm not trying to do anything to it, but click the link and you'll be able to see where you can find some good savings. Now, do you believe your budget line by line? This is the next biggest one and the biggest hurdle to do. The real life versus the spreadsheet gap. Most pre-retirement budgets underestimate spending because they ignore the inflation lags or invisible costs. The national average are just a starting point. Your specific zip code and family obligation matters far more than the data that they put out. So build a line by line reality budget. Okay? And this is where another one of these things I will tell you. You always start your retirement 6 months before you actually are saying, yeah, I'm going to retire. Build this right now. Take a look at what is it costing you. Okay, pull the last 6 months of your bank cards and statements, categorize it for every transaction. Capture the family support line. 79% of the parents over 50 still support their adult children. Take a serious look at that. Are you giving any money to your kids? Not for when you die, but right now. Are they calling you up and say, Mom, I can't make my rent payment, or I can't make my car payment, helping you out? That's not going to stop just because you are now retired or into a fixed income. That's still going to get the phone call. And then, unfortunately, I'm going to say you're going to have to get tough if you don't plan accordingly. Include the overlooked variable costs, home repairs, property tax hikes, auto repairs, new hobbies. You're going to get into pickleball. You got to buy the paddle. You got to buy the shoes. You got to buy the shirts. You got to buy all the extra stuff to it. This is why I said before, you got to look at what is it going to cost you for retirement and put this into a hardcore budget. So you see what I put together, and I'll show you, is because the historical data says most people between 65 and 74 can retire and live off about $57,000. I always say the mid-cost area is 64 to 68. High cost between 72 and 80. It all depends on where you live. A lot of that does, but also depends on what your retirement's going to be. Okay? Are you going to be buying a cruise every single month? Are you going to do 6 months of cruises, 3 months of cruises? Are you going to be traveling to Europe? Are you going to be doing what is you want to do? And then the other one, like I said, the adult health care. I call it adult health care is that your kids are asking mom and dad for assistance. Where is it at? I don't know everyone's situation, but these are the things you got to make sure you cover. So once you get down to it, to pass this question is really, can you build your budget and then can it match your income across the board? So the next steps of this, your decisions and your action plans. Like I said, in 10 minutes, you really can take your time. I took 25 minutes to explain it all to you, but you know where you stand. Most people spend a decade guessing. You know you have a binary checklist, a gap between thinking you're ready and being ready. If you have any no's in any of these questions, you need to stop immediately and say, I got an action plan. I got to fix these no's. So it's called auditing. Audit your answers with the 6 questions written down. Mark it clearly, yes or no, over each one. Okay? And be honest with yourself. Turn the no's into tasks. So if you don't know what your health care is going to be, there's your task. You're all set. Start figuring out, what was my actual income and how is that going to affect my health care? 2, build that 2-year cash buffer. Do you have that in savings? Do you have it in cash somewhere else? Have you talked about it with the spousal strategy? And then do your work day. Any of these things I keep telling you, come back with a no. These are all things you need to work on before you're ready for retirement. Okay, time is the only thing in the equation you can't get back. You can rebuild your portfolio, but you cannot rebuild the years. This is why planning works so well on retirement ahead of time to know where you're at. So all I'm trying to do is help you get ready across the board. As I told you, I've been retired for well over 10 years. These are all the similar things I went through that I learned over time to say, hey, if someone's ready for retirement, you got to answer 6 questions. And I've learned all of this throughout that period of time. So I'm just trying to help you out across the board. So we'll get from this starts it. We have many new videos coming out in this retirement strategy. We'll get into the portfolio next. We'll talk about Social Security. We'll talk about, buying the right funds and accordingly. So if you like what we're doing, hit that like button for sure. Hit that subscribe. You don't want to miss any one of these episodes. And leave any comments down below. I'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions at all, don't be afraid. Hit down below, ask a question. We read them all.
Thank you for watching. Press the